Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of High School Girls Basketball on TSB Television. Today we have another non-conference game for you from the confines of St. Paul Central as they host Duluth East. St. Paul Central at 5-0, Duluth East at 2-3, but a very competitive team. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Peden. Thank you for tuning in. St. Paul Central looking to continue their best start since the 2006-07 season when they went undefeated and won the Class 4A state championship. And how they got there, a very dramatic overtime victory against Chanhassen that included an extra minute of overtime of all things. But you have to give credit to Raina Charo for rescuing her team. She had 27 points and 20 rebounds in a night where Central's other players sometimes struggled to get offense going. Charo was in the paint, attacking, getting a lot of second chance looks, and that's what pushed Central past Chanhassen in the end. Duluth East at 2-3. That record a little deceptive though, but they're still trying to figure themselves out. They have a very energetic team, but not a very experienced group. They also have a new coach, Joaquim Harris, who moved over from Duluth Marshall. And this Duluth East team playing an independent schedule, no conference affiliation, and so they'll be looking to test themselves against some of the high-quality teams in the state to continue the momentum they built on when they went to state last year. They had a very tough loss to Benilde St. Margaret's last night, lost by 3, but shooting accuracy eluded them. Had a few more free throws and three-pointers gone in, Duluth East would have taken an upset in this weekend in the Metro. Let's take a look at the keys to the game. But for Duluth East, it will all be about maintaining spacing on offense, taking advantage of the one-on-one matchups, but you don't want to create too many lanes or holes for Central to drive through because they have a lot of drivers. They want to extend the defense and force Central to the perimeter. As a result, make them shoot threes. They're not the best three-point shooting team, at least early in the season, and off of that, they also want to control the paint. For Central, it's all about making free throws. They were 12 of 25 as a group in Tuesday's win over Chanhassen and had a few more gone in. Overtime would not have been necessary. And second chance opportunities, while they got a lot of them, they were not very clean. It was a lot of rush shots, getting the ball up almost instantly. They want to clean that up and be a little more poised so they have a higher efficiency rating in second chance looks. Tip-off is coming up in a few minutes. We'll show you the starting lineup shortly. You're watching High School Girls Basketball. Welcome back to Central High School. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. For the visiting Duluth East Greyhounds, it's number 10, Emily Anderson at guard, number 14, Mia Anderson at forward, number 20, Emily Ball at guard, number 31, Liz Libben at forward, and number 35, Hannah Johnson at center. The leading scorer, Mia Anderson, had about 14 points per game before last night. But Duluth East still developing a new identity with the transactions and adjustments they've made over the years. St. Paul Central will start the same five you saw on Tuesday's game. So Lyric Williams at guard, number 3, gets the start, along with Betsy McDonald, number 5 at guard, Shanae Chapman, number 11 at center, Jada Haynes, number 14 at guard, and number 15, Raina Charo, a center. As we talked about, Charo had a phenomenal game on Tuesday. Career high, 27 points, 20 rebounds, although some of her second chance looks were not the cleanest. And that's something she'll have to address to give St. Paul Central a reasonable chance to win today. We do want to thank the fine folks at prep45.com for providing their online hospitality for us. As we mentioned, Duluth East reached the quarterfinal round last year in the state tournament, fell to Edina. But they're looking to build off of that. Because in the words of Joaquim Harris, getting to state was a huge bump for the program. It got us noticed and realized that talent resides up in the Northland. Duluth known more for hockey with schools like Hermantown, Duluth East, Duluth Marshall. Basketball, not as widely known because of the way the sections are arranged. Duluth often ends up in the outside metro sections, and a lot of times they don't get a chance to play some of the top teams that schools like Hopkins and Central do because of their location, and that's why many of them often cannot get past that first round in the state tournament. St. Paul Central has not qualified to a state tournament since 2008, hoping to get back there. And if the last few games are any indication, they may have the best odds of returning, as their section is looking pretty favorable right now. They came out with a win over Woodbury. White Bear Lake not looking strong in the early portion of the season, but long way to go. Nothing is decided, and nothing will likely be decided until we get to sections. Duluth East will wear the white jerseys. St. Paul Central wearing their familiar home black. McDonald over to Jada Haynes. Betsy McDonald got the winning run going. Here's Jada Haynes on a drive to the lane. Her basket weave complete with the layup. But it was McDonald who saved the show for Central on Tuesday. She got an underhand layup through a small hole, evading two Chanhassen defenders, and that sparked Central. They scored the next 8 points in the overtime period, and that was enough to win. They came out with a 71-69 win. Duluth East struggling a little bit on their first possession. They want to play a lot of the top teams in the Metro, a lot of top 10 teams. They've got Hopkins paying a visit up to Duluth later this season. I mentioned they played Benilde St. Margaret's. They're always a 3A contender. Swish, number 20, Emily Ball on the basket. Here's Chapman, double teamed, off the heel, and the rebound to number 31, Liz Libben. As we mentioned, not a very experienced group. They lost a lot of starters from last year. No returning starters, as a matter of fact. They have some players that were on last year's team, but it's almost like hitting the reset button as Duluth East turns the ball over. Their goal is to keep opponents under 70 points. You know, they did that last night, but they didn't have much offense to complement that defensive stance. McDonald drive is off the heel, and it was rebounded by Hannah Johnson, the 6'1" sophomore center. Mid-range Jay's off the heel. Jada Haynes with the board. Doesn't have the numbers, so she sets it up for McDonald, who resets. Haynes to Chereau, and the pass is deflected, and the steal to Emily Ball. Ball pulls up. Too strong. Chereau picks it up. Central's Twin Towers, a focal point of their interior offense and defense, and Shade Chapman with a pull-up J. Jada Haynes anticipates, gets the steal, and weaves her way in. Can't get the bounce though. Shade Chapman will shoot free throws. We've seen Chapman the last couple of games looking to extend her range. You see a lot of post players do that, forward centers. Chapman just averaging 9.4 points per game though. As we talked about on Tuesday, Willie Taylor wants to see her become more aggressive on offense, get herself set up for more scoring opportunities, because she is so prolific on the boards with her long arms, her height, her speed. As we mentioned before, she is headed to the University of Alabama, Birmingham. But she splits here. And the rebound to Emily Anderson. Betsy McDonald with the steal, and Shade Chapman is hacked again. The foul will be charged to Maya Anderson. Chapman with 3. Still early though in the first. Plink goes in the attempt. Another element of improvement Willie Taylor wants to see out of his senior going to UAB is guarding the 2 and 3 slot. She's adept at the 4 and the 5 as she plays those areas most of the time, but if necessary, Willie would like to see more defensive versatility out of her, and Raina Chirot will be called for the bump on Liz Libben. Chirot fouled out of Tuesday's game against Chanhassen with about 60 seconds left, but it proved to be of no damage. LaShondra Curtis in the game for the Minutemen, averaging 10 points off the bench. Libben, and no. McDonald scoops up the rebound. Looking for Chapman, but the ball was poked away by Emily Anderson. It stays on Central's end. Williams lines up the 3. Too strong. Libben with the rebound. Emily Anderson with the look. Shade Chapman with the block. Johnson. Stripped, but it will stay with Duluth East. Good defense, though, so far. You had Chapman with the block and Jada Jones, number 12, on the coverage. Jones, coming off a hamstring injury, made her first appearance of the season Tuesday night. Whether or not she starts is up to her. Willie Taylor, as always, wants his players to earn it. Three-pointer off the heel from Emily Ball, and it was picked up by Curtis. Chapman on a dish to Curtis for the layup. That puts Curtis on the board. Central up early, 9-2. Jumper no good from number 14, Mia Anderson. But Duluth East gets an offensive rebound, and Libben will get another shot. Swish. McDonald, long 3, bullseye. That's her first field goal, and McDonald does have that outside range. There's the full court press that Central likes to put on. Willie didn't have much of a chance, Willie Taylor didn't have much of a chance to see this Duluth East team. And so for both coaches, a lot of this game, this first half in particular, will be adjusting and learning on the fly. McDonald on the rebound, and there's Chapman, who's left alone, and she scores. Chapman up to 7 points. Joaquin Harris calls timeout as Central leads 14-4 with 12:18 left in the first half, and we'll keep it here. A little more information about Duluth East. We talked about the young, energetic squad they have, relying heavily on the youth. A baptism under fire, in the words of Joaquin Harris. But he wants to earn respect up north. Again, most of the attention in the Metro, even though there are some 4A schools, Duluth East, Bemidji, Brainerd's up there, you know, but not heard of. And he said the best way to get that respect is to play the top tier teams. Even if you don't win, you are at least bold enough to get that challenge. One reason why they've been a respectable program, though, is a feeder group. They have the East Girls Hoops Club up there, and he said about 90% of his roster went through that league, and of course many of them play AAU as well. And a foul on Central, an unfortunate break for the Minutemen as they had Duluth East jammed in a tie-up. And instead, LaShondra Curtis bails them out. That's her first personal foul. Anderson in trouble, used up the dribble. And the jump ball is called. Duluth East had the possession arrow, but the Greyhounds getting a taste of that Central defense that is so frustrating to penetrate when in flow. Anna Johnson with the and one. Johnson for a three-point play. We saw good points on the board. Was a primary scorer on the JV team a year ago. Can't complete the three-point play. But Duluth East does trim the lead to 8. Haynes was left open, but the skip pass was a little too high, and Central will have to try again. Chireau, who has not seen any action yet. That's her first shot, and it's off the rim, no good for 3. Mia Anderson had the rebound. Johnson gets the runner. Johnson with 4. And we're seeing Duluth East settle down a little bit. There you see Chelsea Kizzard in the game, number 2. Raina Chireau couldn't get the turnaround to fall. Liz Libben one-on-one, too strong. But the rebound in the hands of Ball, that's no good. And Libben will go to the line, and she was fouled by Chireau, and that's her second. We mentioned she fouled out in the last game we had for you on Tuesday. This is Libben's first trip to the free throw line. Harris projecting Libben as one of the top players of the future. Brings a high basketball IQ to the forward slot. Libben splits, but Duluth East has scored the last 5 points to cut the margin in half. Curtis has to go back in to give Chireau a break. Kizzard, top of the key, bullseye. Let's see if that halts any momentum Duluth East was creating, and it may have. McDonald gets the steal, and she will opt to hand off to Haynes, who has to throw it up, but Kizzard there for the recovery. Curtis, turnaround, gets the bounce. Curtis with 4, Haynes with the steal, McDonald, no. Duluth East, I can say this much, doesn't have the speed to match Central. So they're going to have to come up with other strategies. Chapman one-on-one, and did she travel? Yes, it looked that way as she tried an over-under move, so no layup for Shade Chapman. So 2 point-blank looks for St. Paul Central, and both are wasted away. Jada Haynes called for the bump. And St. Paul Central is now out of fouls to give. That is her 3rd personal foul, and Haynes had a similar issue in Tuesday's game. In fact, a lot of Central players got caught in foul trouble early on. They were able to shake it off. And the roster just not that deep for Central to be making those kinds of miscues early. But they are an aggressive team, and sometimes that happens. Betsy McDonald draws the foul, and she'll get free throws. The foul will be charged to Emily Anderson. That's her 2nd.
Foul number 10, Emily Anderson.
Betsy McDonald at the line. She is going to St. Cloud State University next fall, Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference member. And we're seeing free throws not going in for Central, at least not with great accuracy, but what Willie Taylor likes about Betsy McDonald is her high basketball IQ and her discipline. Whatever you ask her to do, she will perform it for you. Sees the court very well and has a great shot to complement her offensive creation abilities. Chapman on the long 2, no good. Offensive rebound. Curtis spins around, got it. Willie Taylor calls Curtis his best low block offensive option, and you see why. Ball with the 2. No, and Chapman using her long arms to get the rebound, but she loses the ball to Hannah Johnson, and she gets the layup. We haven't seen any substitutions yet for Duluth East. And keep in mind, they played a game last night at 7 o'clock, so this is a quick turnaround for the Greyhounds, having to play 2 games in less than 24 hours. Chapman returns the favor on Johnson. She's up to 9. Duluth East in trouble, and Jones with the steal. Jones is fouled, and she'll get free throws. No, that was an offensive foul call on Jones. I thought it was the opposite, but unfortunate break for Central. They are in the penalty, but because it's an offensive foul, no free throws are awarded. Almost a travel there, but Duluth East recovers, and Liz Libben with the kiss off the glass. She's up to 5. Curtis on a bounce pass to Chapman. Oh, Chapman working her way on the interior today. She's up to 11. That was her point total from Tuesday's game. McDonald with the steal, and she leaves it up empty again. That's the 2nd time McDonald has left a point-blank shot off the mark, and she can't clean it up either. You don't see that out of McDonald usually. And Duluth East can't answer, though. That was Mia Anderson on the 3-pointer, but she gets another try, and she'll drive, and she'll get free throws. Again, Central in the penalty. Anderson has yet to score.
Number 5,
Has been sticking to the outside for the most part, but can go inside when necessary. But she does have a post-up ability, in the words of Joaquim Harris. And she finally gets on the scoring column. And Duluth East finally bringing in some reserves. Veronica Rudolph, number 13 in the game. Now, it's not a surprise. I'm not expressing surprise or shock that Duluth East not subbing early. Every coach has a different strategy, just not something you see too often at this level. as coaches are still tinkering with their system and their roster. Libben with the steal. In the case of Joaquim Harris, because this was his first season on the job to replace the previous head coach who retired, didn't have much time with them, so he's still implementing the new system, still getting used to everybody. Chapman pulls up, and I think she was deflected. Veronica Rudolph on the defensive assignment. Anderson steps out, and in comes number 24, Daniel Seelick. So let's see what Duluth's bench offers. Duluth East, I should say. Jones for three. Off the heel. Rebound, Veronica Rudolph. In the case of Duluth East, once this game is done, now they may have a long trip back up to their home city because a snowstorm is on the way. And Hannah Johnson with a little offensive precipitation. We've been hanging around about a 10-point margin for the last few minutes now, 5:08 to go. Chereau back in the game for St. Paul Central. Already has 2 fouls, so she has not been highly active today. Williams too strong from 3-point range. And the ball went off of ball. It did, so it will stay with Central. Chereau gets her first field goal of the day. Rudolph used up the dribble, and Duluth East almost turned it over, but Williams touched it last. Kizer going back in for the Minutemen, and new player for Duluth East, it's number 30, Mallory Tomowski. Here's Hannah Johnson, who has 8 points for the Greyhounds. It stays with Duluth East. Chapman and McDonald back in for the Minutemen. Here's Tomowski, tried to skip, and Betsy McDonald gets it off Seelick to force the turnover. McDonald was looking to drive and loses the handle, and she's called for a double dribble. Quick moving game so far. And then Duluth East not playing with the same tempo, and Veronica Rudolph wants that pass back, and she knew as soon as she released it that it was sailing out of bounds. Again, though, for Duluth East, it's not so much about where the record is right now. They are 2-3, but there's still 20 games to go in the season before you have to worry about playoffs. It's about preparing and fine-tuning. Because in the format, as always, every team makes the playoffs. Of course, after that point, it's one and done. But you don't have to worry about how a loss to a non-conference team or even a team outside your section will affect you in the standings. And because Duluth East plays an independent school, that gives them a lot of flexibility. Williams off target from 3, and she gets the rebound after Chapman guided the ball her way. Here's Chapman again, working the paint, but can't get the layup that time, and Johnson will scoop it up. Duluth East not affiliated with any conference. There's Rudolph. Drive was a little too wild, but Central touched it last. Duluth East will get another try. Independent school, so they can pick any school they wish in their schedule. They do keep some series going, honoring rivalries and the like, but it gives them a flexibility that even schools like St. Paul Central don't have, because teams that do have a conference affiliation have to play at least 2 games, schedule permitting, against conference opponents. And a nice recovery. Emily Ball with the cleanup. And that sometimes puts teams like Central, and especially schools in bigger conferences, at a disadvantage, because you can't gauge how well you play against the rest of the top talent in the state. Charo, couldn't get the kiss off the glass. Chapman is fouled, and she'll shoot a pair again. Chapman with 11. She is 3 of 4 from the free throw line. But Willie Taylor has to be feeling confident that Chapman is already past her scoring average in 1 half. And who knows how dangerous Central could be if that aggression upholds throughout the rest of the season. She splits again. Danielle Seelig bounces it off her leg, and so St. Paul Central gets another possession. Charo, Plink goes it in. That gives her 4. And a backcourt violation. Things not going Duluth East's way right now, and once you cross that half-court line, as most of you basketball fans know, you cannot pass back unless it's on an inbound play or a deflection from Central. So let's see if Central takes advantage of this free ball. No. And new player in for the Greyhounds, Rachel Wyenberg, number 44. Chapman with the steal. She has numbers. She draws a foul and will shoot another 2. Chapman 4 of 6, 12 points overall. Chapman, the first Division I recruit, and she splits again. Charo with the rebound, but she's blocked on the inside. McDonald gets the bounce, and a 3-point play the backwards way. McDonald up to 6, and Central's lead up to 16. Here's Wyenberg. She loses the handle, and Chapman almost lost it herself, but she recovers. Less than a minute to play in the first half. I mentioned Chapman, the first Division I recruit Willie Taylor has had in a few years. His last player to go D1 was Thierra Taylor, who had a big performance a couple of nights ago when Iowa beat Iowa State. There's Thierra Taylor recovering from 3 ACL tears, including one that ended her high school career, and now providing a productive role for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Ball stays with Central. They have 28 seconds. Central will hold for the final shot. Jones does a little stutter step, drives to the hole, no good. Duluth East does have time if they hurry. And they're not going to get a shot off in time. McDonald with the steal, but a dominant first half by St. Paul Central thanks to their defense and their interior ability. They lead 34-18 as we head for the halftime intermission. We will pause for a few minutes, come back and recap the numbers for you. You're watching high school girls basketball on TSB Television. Welcome back to Central High School as TSB Television continues its coverage of high school girls basketball. I'm Mike Peden, and we are presenting the non-conference duel between St. Paul Central and Duluth East. St. Paul Central holds a 34-18 lead as we get ready to start half number 2. And let's take a quick look at the numbers for you. Shade Chapman leading all scores with 13 points, and that includes a 5 of 8 mark from the free throw line, so hoping to bump that up a little bit. Betsy McDonald has 6. LaShondra Curtis has 6. And those are your notables. For Duluth East, Hannah Johnson has 8. Liz Libben has 5. Emily Ball has 4. And that really makes up most of the scoring. Duluth East just struggling to keep up, at least in the first half, with Central's quicker tempo and agility. But as we mentioned in the first half for Duluth East, this is all about gauging their ability, their odds of making state, and even just taking the necessary steps to improve. In the words of Joaquin Harris, playing Central now and playing other schools down the road like Hopkins, even Benilde St. Margaret's, will be indicative of their short-term and long-term prospects. St. Paul Central wearing the black jerseys, Duluth East wearing the white. We're going to have one more Central game for you, at least in the coming days anyway, when Richfield pays a visit. Richfield, of course, the runner-up last year in Class 3A for the state tournament, and they are currently the top-ranked team in that class right now. They've only played one game. But that game was a convincing win over Staples Motley. Raina Charo, good defense. Hannah Johnson with the block and the strip. And draining the 3. Was it ruled a 3? No, 2-pointer, but still a good momentum builder perhaps as Emily Anderson gets on the board. Duluth East started their season dropping the first 2 games, won their last 2, and then lost last night to Benilde St. Margaret's. Haynes, top of the key. No. Rebound, Emily Ball. Mia Anderson in a little bit of trouble, has yet to make a field goal. Hannah Johnson almost lost it. And Shade Chapman with another block. That's at least her second. And that's a very respectful move as Lyric Williams scored the layup. They couldn't stop play because Anderson got a little banged up, but Duluth East didn't have possession. But I want to point this out. You didn't see it on camera, but Shade Chapman could have ran back with her teammates to try to get a 5-on-4 going. Instead, she paused, she stopped, and checked Anderson out to make sure she was okay. A very respectful gesture by Shade Chapman to briefly pause from action and make sure her defender, her opponent, was doing fine. So that's not something you get to see often in high school basketball, a chance for the characters to be fleshed out. You often just see them on the court and, reputations, perceptions, stereotypes, they can run rampant sometimes regardless of location. And so it's nice to see that, yes, they are still they are human. They just get featured on TV a little more than some of us. Back to action, though. And we have to stop again. Mia Anderson on the floor. I'm going to run down, just make sure our equipment isn't, well, I'm not going to because the ball went near our tripod, but action will take place on the other end of the court. But Mia Anderson, slow to get up. I did not see the reaction, but this could be a moment or two. We talked about Mia Anderson can play inside and out, can post up, has a deadly three-pointer, and was the top scorer on this team coming in. So a serious injury to her would be considerably detrimental. We certainly hope that doesn't happen. But a little more about this Duluth East program while we're on the timeout. And speaking of characters, Duluth East ripe with them. All their players has a GPA average of 3.5 or better, and that is a troubling sign. Anderson not able to walk on her own power. She only had 1 point in this game, but again came in as the team's top scorer. And when you're looking for a new formation, a new creation out of a retooled roster that had to be shifted because of graduation, it's going to add another challenge. Let's see how Duluth East responds to it. Chapman with the rebound. But to finish up on Duluth East, every player has a GPA of 3.5 or better. They definitely handle academics well. We'll have a little more to talk about if we have time in the second half. Raina Chiro not getting the same rhythm, and Shade Chapman kicks the ball. Just a matter of reflexes. Veronica Rudolph going back in the place of Anderson, and she throws it away. McDonald will pick it up. Let's see if she can get a layup this time. Yes, and with the defender in her face as well. She left 2 point-blank shots off the mark in the first half. Central playing that aggressive defense again. Johnson hauls in the skip pass and gets the bounce. Still a 16-point game. Raina Chiro, that gives her 6. We mentioned the keys to the game. We don't have specific numbers. Duluth East wanting to keep Central out of the paint, control the paint. Well, it's Central residing there and building a 2-story duplex. Hannah Johnson, though, with the counter. She is up to a dozen now for the Greyhounds. Chiro, will she try it again? Well, this time she couldn't elude Johnson, couldn't juke her, and was left with a tough shot. And coast to coast, Emily Anderson with the score. And a timeout is called. Anderson with 4 points. Duluth East calls timeout, and now I'm going to make sure our equipment is in order because I have that capability with this microphone. It's 40-26. As I mentioned before, we will be here on Tuesday to cover the game against Richfield in what should be a very fun contest. Richfield, the runner-up last year, and oh my, camera got bumped a little bit, but that's all right. It's amazing what capabilities we really could put together if we had the infrastructure to pull it off. I could go around and call the games from, any location. I could even call it from behind the scores table if I wanted. Or even just... And now a piece of the court is dislodged, which they got to get back in place. It looks like it's one of the covers that runs the outlets right up in that red circle on center court, but they get it back in place. We certainly don't want a player tripping over that. That could be disastrous. McDonald pulls up and is short. Gets her own rebound, and Central with another try. Tried to bounce it to Curtis, but too much traffic, and it's picked off by Libben. Emily Anderson again is fouled by Jada Jones. That was ruled a shooting foul, so Anderson will shoot a pair. It's the first time a Duluth East player, well, I should say second time, the first was a three-point play. Strong point guard and physical defender, Emily Anderson is. One of the seniors on the team. She splits. Lyric Williams had a three, but backs off. And Chapman trying to find Curtis, but the pass was too high. Curtis at 6'1", but doesn't have the vertical to scoop up high passes like that. But Central answers right back. Jada Jones with the poke and the steal. McDonald has it now with an outlet pass to Curtis, who's short. Rebound, Hannah Johnson. In addition to Duluth East's high GPA and academic standing, Johnson was disrupted by Chapman, and Jada Jones stepped on the line coming off the rebound, so Duluth East keeps it. One of his requirements, Joaquin Harris's, for his players is to be active leaders in the community, and that was in place before he took over. Some tutor other students, some also play instruments. We also talked in Central's case, Betsy McDonald plays the band. And ball missing the three-pointer. Libben can't get the put back, and Jones with a long pass that's poked. Central will keep it, but that's the danger you run with the long passes sometimes. You give more time for the defense to fill in the passing lane. To finish up on Duluth East, a lot of the players take part in fundraising that gives back to the community up in Duluth, so they do their best to really stand out in the capital of the Northland. Curtis with a turnaround kiss. That gives her a quiet 8 points. Chapman with the steal. Goodbye. Chapman, this is her season high. 15 points. Her previous high this season was 12, and she has a chance to add another. Pulls up and comes up short, but she didn't have a one-on-one layup chance there, so she made the right move by juking her defender and going for a pull-up instead. Lyric Williams, no. And Central, the dominant team, the better team so far in this game, but still leaving a few possessions empty-handed. And that's a good sign. Mia Anderson going back in. May have been a cramp, but Jones, that was nearly a travel violation. And she gets a low jumper to fall. A little arc to it, but it goes in, and that's what counts. Duluth East in trouble, and Weinberg unable to evade the double team. No foul called. Jones picks it up, though, and has to haul it up, and she will get free throws.
Foul on Duluth's number 44, Rachel Weinberg. Her first.
Weinberg called for the foul.
Line 22.
Jones with just 2 points. And has yet to make a free throw.
Number 15, Randy Sherrill, and number 5, Bethany McDonald.
And now Jones finally makes her first free throw, but Central's free throw shooting again, not likely where Willie Taylor wants it to be. I don't have the official numbers on me, but Weinberg, no, she didn't have a great lane or a great angle, and a jump ball is called. Duluth East still had the possession arrow.
Back for the Minutemen, Luke Williams.
Raina Sherrill, no, that's not Sherrill. I got my teams mixed up. But that was Mia Anderson on the score.
15, Rita Sherrill.
The foul is on Sherrill, that's her third personal. And Anderson, finally with her first field goal, has a chance to add another point, which he does. Duluth East still needs a considerable run to really put the pressure on Central. They're down by 17. Realistically here, they've got to get it to within about 10 with 5 minutes to go to shake it up. And Central turns it over. Kizzer couldn't handle the pass from Sherrill. Rudolph. And blocked is Weinberg, but Johnson picks it up, and Anderson, swish. No, it was a three-pointer. I thought she stepped on the line, but this is why I'm up here. Well, Anderson, who had made no field goals at all, Kizzer cannot get the counter. Chandra Curtis will get free throws. Well, Anderson, who had to sit out for a few minutes after the injury, and no field goals, and now has worked her way up to 7. Hannah Johnson called for a first personal foul. Curtis will go to the line for a pair. You have to imagine Willie Taylor will be addressing this free throw issue over the season. Curtis splits, but I think he'd like to see more 2-for-2s than splits from his players. The game is not out of reach yet. McDonald for 3. Bullseye. There's the anchor of the offense, hunkering down again. McDonald with 11. Weinberg with the answer. That gets her on the board, and that will put her on the newspapers here in the Metro tomorrow. St. Paul Central still up by 16, though. Williams from the corner, off the mark, but off of Weinberg. So Central keeps it with 8 minutes and 32 seconds left in regulation. Curtis off the inbound play. Doesn't have much to work with there and had a tough angle. And Sherrill is going to get called for the bump. That's her fourth, and I don't know if we'll see much action out of her. She has struggled with discipline in this week, even though she had her career high in Tuesday's win. And she has to be careful now with 4. Here's Jada Haynes. Williams will try again from the corner, and this time it's pure. Williams has that shot, still working on it though, just a junior, and one of the smaller players on the team at 5'5". Curtis with the steal. McDonald has an opening. And a nice bounce pass over to Williams to maneuver around Hannah Johnson. Libin, got it. Libin up to 7. And McDonald almost replicated what she pulled off against Chanhassen in overtime, but not enough air under it this time. But Williams with the steal, and just like that, Lyric Williams up to 9 points. Has scored the last 7 for St. Paul Central. Hannah Johnson poked from behind by Williams. One play after another for the junior. Haynes for 3. And Giroux couldn't get after it like she normally does because she has 4 fouls, but St. Paul Central with a comfortable lead and comfortable odds for staying undefeated and perhaps moving up on their 5th place ranking in Class 4A, of course. Rankings don't mean too much. It's a way to give a sense on who the top teams are in the state, but still a long way to go. Haynes with a tough position, gets another try at it. Good defense by Hannah Johnson that time. Anderson doesn't have the numbers, so she'll pull up. Swish. And Willie Taylor, even though his team is up by 19, didn't like what he saw in the last possession, so he will call timeout to settle his contingency down. So it is worth noting, Mia Anderson, a little ironic, but before the injury, 1 point, no field goals at all, and since she came back, has scored 8. There may not be enough time to get Duluth East to win, but it's worth noting. And with Harris and this building process for Duluth East, he said that one thing his players have told them as they continue to adapt to his system is that the practices are difficult, but they are fun to take part of. And that will more likely manifest itself at the end of the season. Again, early in the year, it's all about the adjustments. You're getting a sense of who you are in this first month. In January, you get in a rhythm. It's about consistency, and February, it's all about setting up for the playoffs, which will be shaken up a little bit next year because the girls' tournament will now follow the boys' tournament for the next 3 seasons as we have a facilities overbooking with a new conference tournament in hockey going to Target Center, so the girls will no longer be using Target Center for the championship rounds, although the last few years, because especially in 4A, they were so predictable, and even in the other classes, attendance, not what it once was. So Target Center became a little too cavernous to host. So Mariucci Arena is going to get some action, as well as Williams Arena. But for that tournament, it seems to make a little more sense, given the attendance ratings. Chapman, that's block number 3. Williams again from the perimeter. Heat check, no good. And Williams bumps number 24, Danielle Seelick. We haven't called her name in a while. Central had 2 to give, or they have 2 to give now, so they're really not in any kind of foul trouble. And that's a far cry from the last game with Chanhassen, where we had double bonus for a while. So even though Raina Giroux has 4 fouls and not the best follow-up to her 27-point game, Central playing a little more cleanly than they did on Tuesday. Williams, and 1. Where did Lyric Williams come from?
Fouls on Greyhounds number 10, Emily Anderson.
9 points this half, just 2 in the first. And Central getting the support structure on offense that Duluth East just hadn't found today. And a 3-point play to boot for Williams, so that gives her 12. Her season high for the Curious is 8. And that has been the difference. You know, Chereau has 6 points. And while, again, not a great follow-up to Tuesday, you're seeing Chapman with some bigger numbers, 15, not a throttling, but effective. Lyric Williams with the season high, and that makes a difference. Chapman with the steal, and Chapman has been involved in other facets of the stat sheet as well, and not just points, but she adds 2 more, and McDonald gets the assist. St. Paul Central, they're up by 24 here. They will go to 6-0. I can make that proclamation now with authority. McDonald with the steal. Can Lyric Williams add to her performance today? Yes, she can. 12 points in the second half, and Willie Taylor is going to send out his reserves as they don't need to do any more. They did their job, or the starters did their job. A very fine game by the Minutemen today, and it was all because they got in the paint, and Williams has poked from behind, so she will not get to add to her day. And here come the backups for Central. They include Lily Greenwald, number 50. Curtis going back in to play a few more minutes. Williams will sit out with 14 points, but nice game for her. Chapman will also sit out. Number 22, Erin Moynihan will get a few minutes. Jada Jones still in there for the Minutemen. Lily Greenwald and Teresia Paul. So Duluth East, after a tough loss to Benilde St. Margaret's in a game they could have won, again, free throws and three-point shooting, normally assets of the team, were just not there. So they are not going to get a win out of this weekend visit. But if you've been following the broadcast today, kind of been listening along, a lot of reasons to get behind the Duluth East program up there. Strong feeder group, you know, great characters, strong academics and community members. And that's what Harris noted. Duluth East, because of the foundation they have established, they don't suffer the same setbacks as other teams that reside outside the metro area do. Schools like, well, you see a lot of them in Class A. You get a lot of one-time champions. Sometimes you get 2 in a row, and even in 2A you get the smaller schools, many of them in that area. A lot of it ends up roster-based. They don't have the support to be a perennial contender the same way that schools like Eastview and Hopkins and Lakeville North have. Duluth East, even though they're a 4A school, you know, again, we talked about location, distance, that can be a challenge or an obstacle, but the Greyhounds making the most of it. So they have a lot to look forward to, and again, their schedule does not get any easier. They have Hopkins in a couple of weeks in a home game, but again, they want to gauge themselves because that's the best way to look ahead. And all of that preparation, doing this tough work, doing the dirty work now, could prove highly beneficial come February. Duluth East also sending in the reserves, and another Greyhound goes down. 2:02 left in regulation. So while we try to figure out who that player is, I can tell you that Duluth East sending in number 15, Serena Wilmers. The player, well, gets back up, so just a little tweak there. That's Erica Churchill, number 23. Number 34, who I don't have on the program. And Seelick's still in there. And it's off the mark. So the reserves will get a few minutes, and we'll try to get a word with Chapman and Williams after the conclusion of this game. Both posting season highs today in scoring, and as you saw with Chapman getting a few blocks. And Lyric Williams with the little surprise of her own, getting 12 points in the second half and posting a season high 14. And that will more than make up for the point deduction from Raina Chiro today. Jada Jones fouls number 15, Serena Wilmers, but Central had a foul to give. But a very quick-moving game compared to the marathon we had on Tuesday night that included an extra minute of overtime. That won't happen today. And I guess one advantage of this is we will not have to worry about the snow too much for those of you that don't like it, but 53 seconds. Duluth East will fall to 2-4 as they return up to the land of Lake Superior. St. Paul Central will go to 6-0 in what should be a highly anticipated game with Richfield on Tuesday. We'll have that for you on TSB television. Richfield, the #1 team in 3A, St. Paul Central at number 5, but they might move up after a pair of quality wins here. St. Paul Central should run out the clock here, or throw it to the cheerleaders instead. You can see why the cheerleaders are not on the floor. They did not want anything to do with the ball. They all got out of the way after Kizzard overthrew her target. There's a reason why people are where they are. In the case of the cheerleaders, a little too nervous about contact, and Central should run out the clock this time. Or not, Jones will pull up off the mark. And the final buzzer now sounds. St. Paul Central with a convincing, methodical 65-39 win over Duluth East to move to 6-0 in the year. Again, the paint was the biggest area of influence today. St. Paul Central was able to get in there quickly and reside there all day. Duluth East could not force them out. Today, Chapman, the high scorer, 17 points, and then we mentioned Lyric Williams with a season high of 14. We'll try to get a word with both of them in a minute. You're watching high school girls basketball on TSB television. I'm here with Lyric Williams and Shade Chapman. Both of you had season highs today in your win over Duluth East. And Lyric, you had 12 points in the second half, just 2 in the first. Just what got you going in the second chapter?
Just my team's pace. I got a lot of layups towards the end, so pushing the ball up the court, that's all.
You seem to like to camp out at the three-point line, too, especially in the corner. Is that a shot you're trying to work on?
Yeah, I'm trying to work on my shot in general.
So what do you think this does? Central now 6-0, and we've talked about this. It's been 5 years since they last went undefeated like this, at least with the first 6 games of the year.
What's the question?
What do you think has gotten this team this far?
We're playing more as a team than we have before.
Shade, you had 17 and a few blocks, 3 by my count. We don't have the official numbers here, but Coach has said you're a very aggressive player, especially on defense. How did you transfer to the offensive end today?
I know that I have to score more offensive in order to help my team to win, and I haven't been really offensive this whole season, so I know I had to start and just making the easy layups, really.
And not only that, that seemed to help you out. Chiro had a career high on Tuesday. She only had 6, and so you two kind of cleaned up for it and came out with a 26-point win. What was it like inside the paint? Because that's where Central really seemed to establish their identity, and Duluth East had no response for it.
I mean, we have 3 strong post players, so if if I have a bad game, then I know Chandra and Raina will have a good game. They'll get my rebounds and they'll make it, or I'll get their rebounds and make it. So we help each other out.
So you've been on quite a few Central teams, kind of through that transition phase from the state tournament years to now. And so, what does it mean, to have your senior season and you've won the first 6 games of the year?
It's really exciting for me, and I really want to go to state this year and help my team go to state. So.
And you've got Richfield coming up on Tuesday, #1 team in 3A. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, I am.
What does Central have to do to get ready for a team that finished second last year in the state tournament?
Well, they have really strong guards, so we know we have to go into our post that game and just play hard the whole time.
And I need Lyric back here for a second because I'm going to ask both of you this. Is there anyone you want to say hi to that might be watching this?
My grandma and my future coaches at UAB.
Had to get that in there, right? What about you, Lyric?
My mom, my parents. That's all.
Well, I'm sure they're excited, and I'm sure they'll be excited for a big game on Tuesday. Thanks for speaking with us, and congratulations, and good luck for your Tuesday game.
Thank you.
Shade Chapman and Lyric Williams from St. Paul Central. That wraps up our coverage here. St. Paul Central wins 65-39.